I try really hard to then listen and be there and absorb it, and either just listen and see if it's a moment for just listening, or if it's a moment of action, right? So that's why I'd say
those are rare.
Yeah.
In a marriage, it's usually a
It's
moment of
normally
listening.
just listening.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, right. The action could get you in trouble.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's more
Right.
just, I just sit there.
Yes.
But then sometimes the lack of responding is like,
what, are
whoa.
you not hearing me? Yeah. Welcome to Inside Out. I am your host, James Catledge, and I'm so glad you're here. I've got my glasses on today because you're going to watch me do an assessment. Inside Out does some coaching. I coach somewhere between 15 and 20 clients currently, and I've only mentioned this one time, I think, in all of our recordings, all of our shows, and all the slots filled up. And this coaching is, for me, the attempt is to get what's inside of you out of you, your potential. And that's what we're all chasing, right? Our potential. And sometimes it helps to have a second set of eyes, a second mindset in the middle of that. So if you need to reach me directly about coaching, you can do so at insideoutwithjamescatledge@gmail.com. That's how all my coaching clients found me. And I respond to that directly. We don't have staff dealing with that email account. That's mine directly. So you can reach us there. Today, I thought it would be important for you to know, when we take on a coaching client, there's two pricing structures. We do one by phone only once a week. We do a call and we discuss your life and everything happening and specifically what you need in coaching. The second is Zoom, where we use Zoom so we can see each other. The Zoom is a little more expensive because I've got to be stationary and I've got to be in the same spot. On the phone, I can walk. I could be at the beach. I could be in the mountains. I could be anywhere and do the coaching, so it's a little less expensive for the client. I can tell you that before we take a client, we discuss some very, very personal things and make a decision that we're going to be good for each other. Because one thing's unique about the relationship of coaching someone paying for coaching is they're obviously coachable. And there's this inherent understanding that if they're paying for it, they're going to take what you tell them. They may not do it, but they're going to receive it. They're going to hear it and attempt to absorb it. And so we've made some remarkable strides in some amazing people's lives over the last year and a half in this coaching adventure. I'm loving it. I think it's my natural skill. And today I thought it would be good for you to have some eyes on, what is this assessment? Every coaching client gets to experience this assessment. And our purpose here is not to get your name, phone number, and email address. The assessment is for me to know where we are in your life in a very personal way. And we even sign a non-disclosure so that it's understood by the client that the things you share with me are private. They're not discussed with your wife. They're not discussed with your attorney, your employees, anything like that. We've got people that range in incomes, just out of curiosity. They're all six-figure or higher. We've got several over $1 million a year. But most people, what's interesting is I've got some mindsets making $300,000 and $400,000 a year that are stronger than the mindsets that are earning seven figures. And I got to tell you that that is, the mindset matters most in the accumulation of money. The mindset matters most. Now, we're not talking about inheriting money. We're talking about earning it. And money seems to flow most efficiently to those who are prepared to be good stewards of it. That's where the money flows to. And I can tell you the best stewards of money are the guys making the most. That's just the way it is. And so let's get into this. Today I've got our studio manager here, the guy that makes Inside Out happen, the guy that runs the channel. Trevon, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. You guys don't know Trevon, but he runs the studio. He runs the channel. He's the one that makes the lights right, the mics right. He hires the team that makes our channel great. And I just want to thank you for that. Appreciate all you're doing. You okay to be assessed? We're going to get into this.
Let's do it.
Okay. Trevon's agreed to be candid and honest in his answers. If someone is a client, that we don't begin until we do the assessment. The assessment is the whole first meeting we have together. And we even have an advanced level where we get into Myers-Briggs, where we get into the details. I have a proctor who was willing to take my money and do a Myers-Briggs assessment so that we've got a real good look at where we're beginning. And then, of course, this assessment was written by me. I'm going to just read it right from my intake form. We're going to go through some questions, and if you need time to think, it's fine. Think. And I could even go to other questions, but I'm okay with a little silence if you need time to consider your answer. Number one, and these are all scale of 1 to 10. You give me a 1 to 10. Ambition level, your personal ambition. 10 is off the charts. 1 is I don't really have a lot of ambition. 1 to 10, where are you?
I'd say probably about an 8.
An 8. All right. Have you ever been lower?
I think for myself, I haven't necessarily been lower, but probably struggled in believing myself. So I have the ambition there, but maybe not putting the work towards it.
Got it.
And I think my ambitions are higher than most people.
Okay.
Right, with the dreams I have of building the business and trying to sell it and scale it.
Yeah.
Or scale it and sell it.
Yeah.
But then I meet certain people who have achieved bigger things, and I realize my ambitions are pretty small compared to them.
Well, that's interesting. I want to clean up some of that. Ambition is not necessarily achievement. Ambition is an internal drive that when you wake up in the morning, you're considering your business. When you go to sleep at night, you're considering your business. Sometimes you wake up at night and you've got notes on your nightstand that you've got to put some stuff down there so you don't forget it. It came to you in a dream or something. That's ambition. Achievement, it may be 7, 8 figures. Achievement may be high 6 figures. And you will meet people who have achieved more, but there's a lot of circumstances that go into that may not be related to ambition.
Yeah. No, yeah. And so I feel like at times I'm probably like an 8 or a 9 with my ambition, my drive. There's probably times where I'm more like a 3,
in your action toward the ambition.
Towards the ambition, yeah, in the action.
The engine. That's, yeah, I got it. Okay, I understand. And if Trevon's a client, I've got a whole file on Trevon that's got the form in it, that's got all these answers, because we will come back and reference all this throughout our coaching life. Okay, sadness, 1 to 10. 10 is I'm in real depression, and I'm seeing a therapist, and I'm sad all the time. 1 is I can't think of the last time I was sad. Sadness.
I'd probably put myself around a 4.
Okay, all right. So 1 is virtually no sadness.
Yeah,
almost sociopathic. Right. Okay. And 4 is someone who's got feeling, compassion. You can cry a little bit, this kind of thing. How long does sadness last when it arrives in your life?
I think it depends on where I'm at on a few different areas.
Okay.
Because sometimes I'll let it linger longer. Right. Like that.
On purpose? Or it just seems to linger longer? Maybe
it just seems to linger longer, or I'm okay with not looking past it and just working harder, or right. I accept being sad longer. I guess
you can live in it for a minute.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
guess because there's definitely times where it's like that sadness is there, right, and
it's present,
but it doesn't affect me.
Okay.
Other times I let it affect me longer.
Okay. Does sadness ever disable you? I need to stay at home in the bed.
Never to that extreme, but definitely, I mean, we were kind of talking before we filmed, where there's been times where I kind of sit in this, I guess, sadness, and it disables me from doing, the outreach I need to be doing with the business.
Taking action.
Yeah, taking any action with the business and working towards the goals, because I allow myself to sit in that sadness and it eats me.
It's hard to conduct a high-energy call if you're sad. I totally get that. Okay, that's good. That's very revealing. Anxiety, 1 to 10. 10 is I'm very anxious. I have physical shakes. I'm anxious about everything. Everything really, I'm nervous, anxious. Things that have not happened, I'm thinking about them. Things that may never happen, I'm thinking about it. I have anxiety. That's a 10. 1 is, again, close to sociopath. I feel nothing. I have no anxiety whatsoever. What are you guys so worked up about?
I put myself pretty high, probably like a 7-ish.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm always stressed. I'm always
You're
wondering
thinking about
what
stuff's
is.
not happened yet.
Yeah, and trying to think every single scenario,
Yeah.
every outcome. And so
Before the scans are back, we've done X-rays, and they said we want to take a second look at this nodule, and you're going crazy inside.
Yeah, and even if it's not like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we go back to talk about my son's hockey, thinking about like tryouts are in like 3 months from now or 2 months from now, and just like everything, I definitely overthink everything, and I stress myself out a lot more than I should.
You consider yourself an overthinker.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Okay. Very good. That's important. If I'm going to coach you, you can see this gives me insight into who I'm dealing with. Okay.
Well, and I think it's important that the people that you ask have to be honest too, right? Because I think sometimes we sugarcoat these answers.
Right. One thing I tell my clients as we get to know each other is you can't care so much about what I think of you that you give me false narratives. If you get too concerned about my perception of you, that you're cleaning up your answers and you're not telling me things you should, that's not really a good coaching relationship. I really need you to not care what I think, but care what I have to say about what you think.
Yeah.
That's got to be the dynamic here.
Exactly.
Yeah. And by the way, the people that watch this channel will probably never be coached by me. We've got, again, I can only handle 12 to 15 at a time because I take on their lives. They become part of my life. And all of their stresses, dramas, traumas, successes, all the glory of it, it's part of my life too. And so today's assessment really is about hoping. This is one of those things that you get to listen to over and over again and take some notes and assess yourself. I want you to assess yourself. I want you to evaluate where you really are. Answer these questions for you, because these are the things that ultimately matter in your mindset. Okay, so you've already answered this one, overthinker. You qualify as an overthinker. Would you put yourself in the 7, 8, 9 range on that, or lower, or higher, or 10?
I'd probably put myself as a 10 on overthinking.
You do,
and that leads to the anxiety being like a 7-ish.
Okay. Do you think it's a problem?
I think...
Or is it an asset?
I think it can be either one, right? I think if I overthink to the point that it forces me to do nothing and take no action, and I'm just constantly overthinking, then now it's hurting me. Whereas if I overthink, and that allows me to plan and look at every outcome, to take actions to try to mitigate failure, mitigate certain things, but I'm still taking that action, then I view it more of an asset.
Okay, so would you say, and this is just I want a raw, candid answer here, that you consider the advantages of overthinking to be greater than the disadvantages?
I think so, for myself, yeah.
Yeah, I could tell by the way you were defending it. That you feel that way. I just wanted to hear you say it. So overthinking in your mind is not a negative. There's profit there. There's benefit there.
I do think that there's times that you need to just not overthink, right? Especially when it comes to business. Yeah. Because if you're constantly overthinking everything, it's going to slow down that process of decision making. Yeah. And I think in business, you have to be quick. Yeah. And there are times where I'm able to bypass that, like even pulling the trigger on starting this. Yeah. I literally was just like, okay, I had this idea a few years ago. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go sign a lease. I told my wife, hey, are you cool with this? Signed the lease within like a week or two.
Okay, of the decision.
Yeah.
So you feel like you can turn over thinking on and off?
Sometimes.
Yeah, because I find just in my experience with people that overthinking is part of the DNA wiring, and you either are that or you are not that. And it does come in degrees, of course.
Yeah. And I think I'm still overthinking, but I just make that decision while I'm still overthinking, right?
Like, yeah. So like you may have buyer's remorse often because you take action and know you need to take action, but then after you get the result, it's like, oh boy, this lease, I don't know. It's higher than I expected. It's you can grind on the thinking after the decision.
Yeah, and I might be like overthinking the business or like, trying to figure out every single step and planning it. But I'm also able to then go, well, screw it, we're just going to sign the lease and go forward, and I'll figure it out as we go. Right. But I'm also still overthinking, like thinking about it. So
okay, very good, very good insight. Are you a worrier? 1 to 10. We all worry about some stuff, but You got to rank yourself 1 to 10.
Probably 6.
6. All right. That kind of fits with the other stuff.
Yeah.
How about decisive? 1 to 10. How decisive are you?
I'll put myself in the middle because I guess I'm kind of indecisive.
You're okay.
But I'm also decisive.
So is the decisiveness come along later in life? Some of these, I don't want to call them impulse decisions, but decisions where you kind of push the thinking aside and take action. Is that come along later, like you've matured and realized that this can be a detriment to me to always have to think things through 1,000 ways before I take action?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You've adopted a skill, if you will, of how to deal with overthinking.
Right. And I think the decisiveness, right, it depends on what we're deciding, right?
Money, a new home, a new business, a lease, a car, a truck.
I think with me there, I'm pretty decisive. Like I know what we want to do with like money, for example.
Yeah.
But then I overthink or like I get indecisive. Should we pull that trigger on this? Like let's go with like investment properties.
Okay.
Right. I wanted to have an investment property when I was like 23. And then when I got divorced, I thought about buying a property that I would rent out, you know, to young singles and, you know, let them kind of redo it like, you know, from the church. But then I was indecisive about doing it. I was like, well, what if, you know, and then I think I hit 30 or 31 and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Right.
From
like
23 to 31,
you know,
you've been thinking about this.
I'm remarried, you know, we're doing this. We buy our first house, we move out, we finally get one property. And once I got that one property, I went and bought 2 more out of state.
Okay.
In like a year's time.
All right.
And so I was able to take that action, but it took me so long to finally take the first action.
Got it.
And now, so I'm probably in the middle of decisiveness.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. You could benefit from some coaching, Trevon. Okay.
I know.
Okay. A risk taker. Are you a risk taker?
I'd put myself at like a 7 or 6 again.
You're willing to take a risk.
Yeah. I mean, I think the fact that we signed the lease that we're, you know, on entrepreneur is already a big risk.
Yeah.
You know, this is everything I've done was out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
I try to take calculated risks. I feel like I don't think I'm just jumping off.
You're not rash.
A table and going like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it. But I was like, I know I can do this, but this is still a big risk to take on.
Have you ever bungee jumped?
No.
Okay. Have you ever jumped out of an airplane with, you know, the guy with you, the tandem guy? No.
I used to skateboard.
What was the riskiest thing you've done physically risky? Jumped off a high dive?
Yeah, I've jumped. I mean, I guess, I don't know the tallest one. I've gone cliff jumping, jumped off like 40 feet-ish.
Wow.
Which scares
to water?
me.
Like into a lake?
Into water, into a lake.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty risky.
And that stuff scares me because I'm scared of heights.
Sure.
Right? And so I've done that, and it, you know, it took a while to push myself to get to that height.
Like 8 years?
And I'm still scared.
Or like 8 years? Or
no, maybe like an hour.
Okay.
If I'm there, with like when I was younger, right? Like in high school, we'd go there cliff jumping with my friends. We'd light the lake on fire. We'd bring gasoline, jump into the fire at night.
Oh, cool.
And then like, you know, all of them jump off it. They're all doing backflips off of 45.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like coming up to the edge like, I
hope to
and like
stay
maybe
my
after
feet
an
down.
hour, I finally, you know, jumped off of it. But even after doing that the one time, I went with my son who's 12 and he is fearless. He'll jump off of anything.
Straight off the cliff.
And so it was getting to the point like he's going as high as like where I'm getting nervous of jumping.
Right. And you're not jumping.
Yeah.
You're nervous for him.
So that's probably, I guess, like height-wise risk. But like, you know, I grew up skateboarding, so you'd be jumping off of stairs, jumping onto handrails. And I was risky, but I wasn't willing to take the big risk of going big.
Yeah, coming off a big ramp
but I
and
jump
flipping
off
the
of,
board.
you know, 12, 14 stairs, so still pretty tall.
What's the fastest you've been in an automobile?
Maybe like 120.
Riding or driving?
Driving.
The fastest you've driven a vehicle is 120?
Probably about that, yeah.
Okay.
On the freeway.
Okay. What's the fastest you've ridden in a vehicle?
Probably about that.
About 120. Who was driving?
Well, myself, I've driven that speed, but then, like, buddy, driving.
You let somebody else drive you
through
120.
The gorge.
Okay, sure. The Virgin River Gorge.
Yeah.
For those of you listening at a distance, between Las Vegas and Utah is a massive gorge where they cut the mountain apart to build the highway. and that gorge is really windy. The fact you could do 120 there's
Yeah, we went over 100 for that for sure.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, this is a big one. Self-dilution. I want you to really consider this. Most people self-dilute. In other words, you're not rational about what's really going on in your world. You spin it to accommodate the way your heart thinks about things. And what I mean is you judge yourself by your intentions, but not your reality, not the decisions you make, not the action you take. You still, I don't know if you do or don't, I'm asking the question, do you self-dilute? Are you assessing you in the way you live your life based on your intentions or based on the actions you've chosen to take?
I would say like one where it's all action, or is it all excuses?
No, we're going to get to excuses. This is not necessarily about that. This is about deluding yourself into thinking you're one thing when you're really another.
Okay.
Like most people judge themselves based on what I intend to be, what I would like to be, how I see myself, how my mother always says these things about me, versus who they really are. That's called self-dilution.
I would say that I'm probably more realistic about myself.
Okay.
There's definitely times where I probably not make excuses, but view myself based off of the intention. There's probably moments of that, but I think it's more about the actions.
Other side. More pessimistic than optimistic.
Yeah.
More realist than optimist.
Yeah.
Like if we were in a debate, you would say, hey, look, I'm just a realist. I'm just telling the way I see it, as opposed to the optimistic version of it.
Yeah, I always kind of call myself a pessimistic optimist.
Okay, no, that I can tell. Matter of fact, self-dilution is typically toward the optimistic. And listen, self-dilution is a problem, okay? It's you not seeing the world as it is. It's you not seeing you as you are, and that's a problem. But we still want to be optimistic. So we've got to find that balance, right? Because pessimism doesn't get us anywhere. I don't prefer the excuse, well, I'm a realist. I just call it like I see it. I'm a truth teller. Well, wait a minute. You're assigning all sorts of glamorous categories to being pessimistic.
Yeah.
You still can be a truth teller and be optimistic. And so I don't like conflating all these attributes to grandize yourself, right? So we want to find the right mindset for success. The right mindset for success is no self-delusion. And the only way that can happen is people in your life who you trust are constantly correcting you. And I don't mean negatively. I mean like, hey, Trevon, you're talking to me. I'm your wife. So let's get serious a minute about the bills. Let's get serious about our son and the money we're spending on our son. Let's have that conversation. Oh, no, it's going to all work out. It's going to all work out. You got to trust me. I'm the man of the house. You got to put your faith in me. What's going on now? We go to church. They tell you about this. See, that would be self-delusion, right? Someone who's not self-deluded has a coach or a minister or a best friend who you really tell everything to. And I think those are important relationships that help you avoid self-deluded. Most people I coach are self-deluded in the beginning.
Yeah.
And we have to work on this. This takes some work because pessimists judge themselves negatively. They're constantly the imposter. They don't belong here. They've achieved more than they should have. Maybe they got lucky. This is how they view it. And none of that's not true either. That's not true either. That's coming from a place of childhood trauma. That's come from a place of childhood verbal abuse. And that's not right either. The real answer is, the straight road is, it's not optimistic and it's not pessimistic. And we got to get your lenses where you see the world as it really is, and we see you as you really are in the mirror. And that's where we're trying to get you. So that's why I asked the question about self-delusion. Verbal acuity, your ability to communicate your feelings. How good are you at that?
I'd say pretty high. I'd say about an 8.
So when you're having a discussion with your wife, and it's you're both willing to have it, you're not dodging each other, but you're both willing to have it. Can you communicate to her how you're really feeling?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. That's very good. All right, so I'm going to mark that as kind of resolved. Emotional IQ. There's intelligence quotient, which is the measurement of your speed at processing data. Then there's the emotional quotient, which is you're good with people. You're very good with people. You can read the situation, you can adapt yourself to the situation, and be able to make an impact in that situation. And that's also speed. How quick are you at this? So emotional intelligence, how good are you at that?
I'd say pretty high, like 8 or 9
Pretty
as well.
good. You can read quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's good. Since you're not paying for this assessment, you can choose to not answer this one, or you can answer it. Your highest earning year ever.
Like the amount?
Yeah.
About gross?
Yeah, gross. You earned it.
About 350, 380.
Okay, very good. Okay. Highest earned year ever, 353. How long ago?
About a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay, very good. Do you consider yourself selfish? This is a self-deluded question. It's a kind of a trap.
Yeah, I definitely probably have some selfish tendencies. I mean, I don't consider myself super selfish. Like the things I do, I'm a pretty giving person. Like we spend a lot of time with like our clients and not billing for certain things to give and to help.
You're generous.
But I also do it for selfish reasons because I know it's going to build the relationship.
You're building a bond.
And keep them to stay longer.
Okay, and that may not be selfish at all. Yeah.
And so, and then the stuff I do, like financially, like I want to be successful to give my kids opportunities, to give my wife her dreams. I don't really care about stuff.
Okay. She cares more about it, and you're tuned into that.
Yeah, like I care more about giving them the lives that they want versus myself stuff. So I don't think I'm super selfish. I definitely have selfish tendencies.
Give me 1 to 10.
I'd probably put it like a 3 or a 4.
Okay. That's a trap word which has connotations of negative. It's not negative at all. Self-interest is how the world runs. Every good thing ever created came from self-interest by the one who created it.
Yeah.
Period. So never feel bad about having selfish tendencies. And we've got to almost brainwash ourselves into eliminating these negative connotations with words like that one and the next one I'm about to use with you, because the society would have us think that if you're not completely altruistic, where everything you do is for other people, then you're out of line. You miss a line. You're politically incorrect. Everything about you is messed up. And that is not true at all. I would say it's quite the opposite. If you were focused on building a great business selfishly, we all win. You got more employees. You got more taxpayers. You got more channels being developed. There's more success for everyone when the leader of the pack is successful, selfishly. So as you focus on your goals and making them big and broad and great, we all win because it's your stewardship over this business that we live off of. So don't ever feel bad about being selfish. How about greedy? How about that word? Another societal word that has negative connotations. Do you consider yourself greedy?
I'm probably in the middle there as well. Like, definitely like, because I want to achieve things and I want money to provide opportunities for my family.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it depends on how you use the word greed. If we're going just based off of money or
I wanted to know the way you use it. So the question is for you, based on your mindset about greed, how greedy are you?
I'd put it maybe a 4.
Okay. And that's based on the way you view the word greed.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to tell you again, you can look up some YouTube videos on greed. There's a YouTube video John Stossel from 2020 did where he interviews Ted Turner on greed. Interviews several other entrepreneurs that we all know their names and their success stories. And he basically dispels the myth about greed. It's back to selfish. It's back to self-interest. And if an entrepreneur is not self-interested in pursuing self-interest, the entrepreneur never wins, cannot win. And so all that we're depending on him or her, they lose too. So it is greed and self-interest that literally makes you win, and all those counting on you get to win. The president of our country, when he's self-interested in our country, we all win.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's doing it for his personal legacy. I don't care if he's doing it so he looks good in lights. I don't care if he's doing it because he likes the credit for it. If he wins, we win. And so the motive is not as important as the focus on self-interest.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes, right, like what you were saying, like there's that negative connotation where you think greed with like a jerk.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be with that.
It's a negative attribute taught to us from the time we're small. Don't be greedy. Trevon, don't be greedy. There you go again. You're selfish. You're being selfish with your brothers and sisters. Well, those are actually positive attributes if done correctly. And you know what's great about being an adult? You get to decide how you use those words. You get to decide their meaning for you in your life. You literally don't have to take mama's version of that. You don't have to take your school teacher's version of that. It's the version you choose to interpret.
Yeah, and like when you're saying that, I'm thinking about this time with my son where I remember watching him on the ice and he was being very generous and giving up a lot of time to this other inexperienced goalie.
Yes.
And I had a conversation with him after that and said, I'm glad that you're kind, but you have to be more greedy with ice time.
Right.
You need to take those opportunities. You need to do it.
It's a great analogy.
Because you're working towards that goal. Like you can still be a good person,
yes,
but you need to make sure you're getting your share.
Yeah.
And if not, a little bit more of your share.
His kindness is not dependent on how much ice time he gives up.
Exactly.
Him being a good person, but he may have interpreted a kind guy does this, a good person does this. That's bad definitions. So you want to, as a dad, straighten that out, because ultimately his pursuit of his goals make everybody on the team win.
Yeah. And like thinking about like, this conversation, if we apply that to like my business, if I'm not greedy, right, then that means we're actually doing a disservice
absolutely
to potential clients because we aren't being greedy enough to go out and get them as clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. It's in the acquiring of a client. It's the treatment of a client. It's the taking care of the studio. It's making sure the employees are doing what they're supposed to do. All of that may appear negative. All of that may appear selfish, mean-spirited, when in reality, it all cumulatively adds up to a great business. Yeah, yeah. I don't think the boys at Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, are walking into all these departments saying, can we have a minute with you? Would it be okay if we spend an afternoon with you? We'd like to, talk about some kind things with you. No, what they're doing is saying, look, pencils down. Like everybody step back from the computers. We want to discuss what's going on here. Who are you paying and why? And if you can't answer that question, you need to get further away from the computer terminal. Yeah. And I need to know who told you to pay that when we don't know why. Yeah. So that appears mean. That appears, and they may lose their job. And that may be seen as selfish or mean-spirited or no. The Department of Government Efficiency, which is a lot of people, by the way. Elon Musk runs it, but it's a lot of people. And there's people underneath Elon making these critical decisions every day that probably appear selfish, appear greedy, self-interested, showboating, whatever. But in the end, we need them to be just like that. It's my money. I mean, they're up there tending the store on my money and your money. It's going in these checks, and we're hoping to hell that the displacement of that money, the deploying of that money is headed to a place that we would be proud of and not embarrassed by.
Yeah, and I think we see that, right, with our society in general, where because we've been so focused on being kind.
Yes, generous.
It's led us down this path of government taking advantages.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other things.
Absolutely. And we're still learning, right?
Yeah.
We're still learning. But okay, back to your assessment here. Do you consider yourself ethical?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you define ethics?
doing right by other people,
Okay.
like not trying to screw
All right.
over other people.
So ethics is making the right choice when another option was available.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you like where you are ethically.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Do you consider yourself a corner cutter?
Probably, are we doing scale of 10 or just?
Sure.
All right.
It's easier.
I'd probably say a little bit more towards some corner cutting, so maybe like a 6.
Like what areas of your life would you cut a corner?
Well, I'm looking around the studio and seeing all the little mistakes and the foam that I put up that wasn't super meticulous, right?
Okay.
And then that's where I think,
Okay, you may cut a corner.
like I might cut a corner instead of like being super meticulous about getting that done perfectly.
Yeah, interesting. The overthinker, it can also be a corner cutter, which tells you, this tells you something about your wiring. It tells me, if I was coaching you, it tells me that you are quite nimble in your ability to change and grow, the neuroplasticity in your head, because the overthinker really can't cut corners. If they're pure overthinker, they just can't. They're in here till 3 a.m. measuring and remeasuring. I mean, it's just, so the ability for you to speed this up and kind of get this done at an acceptable level speaks well of your ability to adjust to other things that are overthinking category that may be hurting you. So that means you're quite nimble here and willing to make changes.
Yeah. And so if like in the studio, for example, right, like I'm willing to cut corners in some areas, but then other parts where you're saying being up here at 3 a.m.,
Lighting.
then I'm up here at 3 a.m. with lighting,
Yeah, because you're
constantly
lighting
trying to figure it
expert.
out.
Yeah.
You know, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely overthink on some areas, but then, yeah, cut corners and
Interesting.
others.
And that's really good. That's a positive thing that you've already figured out without consciously considering it. You already, like the other hack that you figured out is, I can't overthink everything. I've got to take just decisive action on some things. And I'm willing to take the risk and take decisive action, having not overthought it. Like I'd like to do. If I had my preference, I'd prefer to overthink it. But you figured out that hack. So that means you are nimble mentally, which is great. You'd be very coachable. Okay, good listener. Do you consider yourself a good listener?
I guess it depends what the subject's about.
Okay.
And
You and your
who
wife.
it's with.
You and your wife.
Yeah. So I'd probably rate myself a little bit above average, like a 6-ish.
Like 10 is
going
Jesus.
Going to 7.
10 is Jesus, the perfect listener, and you
Yeah.
would put yourself at a 6.
I'm probably 6-ish. Like I'm good at listening at most times, but for example, like if let's just say she wants to give me some advice on the business, I'm probably not going to listen at all.
Got it. So it's the source of the data.
I guess it depends on who I'm speaking to,
Okay.
what it's about versus, and then there's sometimes where maybe I'm just too tired to be able to listen.
Yeah, sure.
Or like maybe it's felt like she's complained so much about the same
You
thing
think
that I'm
you know
just
the
kind of
complaint.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
but I try really hard to then listen and be there and absorb it and either just listen and see if it's a moment for just listening or
Sure.
if it's a moment of action, right? So that's why
Those are
I'd
rare.
say it's...
Those are rare.
Yeah.
In a marriage, it's usually
It's
moment of
normally
listening.
just listening.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yeah, right. The action
And-
could get you in trouble.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 is more
Right.
just I just sit there.
Yes.
But then sometimes the lack of responding is
Yes.
like,
What, are you
whoa.
not hearing me? Yeah, right.
you know, and so, yeah, I'd probably say 6 because I lean towards probably listening better most of the time.
Okay.
But like I said, I try to be pretty real about where I am all
Yeah.
the time. And there's, depending on what the situation is or who it is, I'm not listening.
I got it. Yeah. So let's just say that all the sources of data coming into you are from people you respect and admire, and they're experts. Are you a good listener?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
So if we get rid of the filter of expertise and personal knowledge, like if you had one of your children coming to you with tax advice, you may not be the best listener, right?
Right.
You may fake him into thinking Dad's listening to me right now.
Exactly.
And I want him to receive the fact Dad's listening. but I'm really not processing
Right.
anything about tax advice from my 10-year-old.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
But then, like, even in this conversation, like, I'm trying to process everything.
I can
listen
tell
to everything.
you are a good listener if this is any judge of it.
And try to store some of it. Or if I was talking to, like, one of our other clients, Chris, who's, sold businesses for 9 figures, the moments he's given me where he gave me advice, it's like, I'm going to try to commit everything to memory.
Yes.
Like, I want to listen, and then I want to make changes based off of what I've learned from you.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't want to just passively listen. Like, I want to grow. I want to change.
You're
want
a good
to
listener.
grow. So
yeah, I'd be marking this down in your file as a good listener. Do you keep your word to yourself?
I like these questions, by the way.
They're good questions.
I think that the listeners need to go through this and be honest with themselves.
With a pad and paper.
Yeah. And at different times, go back, revisit to this episode, go through the questions again. Am I honest? Do
you keep your word to yourself? I'm going to the gym every day at 6 a.m., and that's a decision I've made. I'm committed to it. Do you keep your word to yourself?
I'm going probably closer to a 6 of I keep my word a little bit more often than I don't, but I definitely struggle with.
These are private commitments.
Yep.
Nobody knows about them but you.
Exactly.
You're the one that made them. So is it convenient to break them?
Yeah.
Because no one knows.
Exactly. And I think I definitely do it way more than I should, especially with stuff like the gym. Even in the business, there's definitely a lot of things that like nobody sees, nobody knows.
Only you.
And it's like, I have a commitment to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm not doing it. I'm breaking that commitment to myself.
Yeah. And,
so close in the middle, but I try hard to do it. So maybe 5 or 6.
Do you know, don't say their name, but do you know anybody in your personal life that's lower than you in this area where you know that, hey, John Doe is, my God, he should have this assessment. I mean, you know right now in your life there's is there multiple people or one person comes to mind?
There's a couple people. I'm not around a ton of people. I guess with clients, but yeah, I'd say there's a few people that I know are working towards stuff and they constantly
break it. All right. The reason I asked you that is not because I care about who you know. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to know where you rank on this real scale of 1 to 10, and if you're observant enough to know that there are people who are lower on that scale than you. That tells me your scale's somewhat accurate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a problem that you don't keep your word?
Yes.
To yourself?
Yes and no. I think circumstantial, right?
Sure.
Sometimes breaking that commitment for something else that maybe...
Yeah. Higher cause, higher purpose.
But maybe you're justifying it because you don't want to go to the gym, right?
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's probably more of a problem than it isn't, because by not keeping those commitments, one, if you have any self-doubt, self-loathing issues, you're just proving to yourself that you can't do these things, and you're breaking those commitments.
Right.
And if you think about it, like I guess the way I think about it is, if I constantly break commitments to my wife, then how is she ever going to trust me?
Yeah.
Right? And so how do you ever trust yourself if you're constantly breaking those commitments?
Yeah.
And I think often I tend to forget and view it that way. It's just, and so like this is definitely a good refresher of,
it's private.
Of reminding yourself too that it matters to keep those commitments, even if there's something small.
Yeah.
And if so maybe I'll say I'm keeping the commitments. Maybe I'm a 4 instead of a 6.
That's a candid answer.
Actually.
Now, I will tell you, having dealt with a lot of people over the course of 30 years, coaching lots of people, whether it be finance, money, or just personal success coaching, most people lie and say they're above the 5. It's the rare person who says they're below the 5, okay? And that gives me a little insight into coaching you, too. That I think not only extremely coachable, you may think less of yourself than the world does.
For sure do.
Meaning the world probably sees you higher on the pedestal than you see yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So that's so far an easy pickup for me. But I will tell you the root of self-esteem. If you're trying to build self-esteem in children or adults, The root, and I know no other root. There's not like 3 roots. This is the root for self-esteem, is can you make and keep commitments to yourself? That's it. It's the root of self-esteem. So if someone at home is struggling with personal self-esteem, all you got to do is make a list of small commitments. Small. Brush your teeth. Make your bed. Straighten your shoes up. Get all my hangers going in the same direction. Eat at 6:15, 12:15, and 5:15. These sound like stupid things on a to-do list. You start checking those boxes. No one knows the list but you. It's in your phone. Make a small list of commitments. Keep them all. And you will figure out that a commitment to you that you keep is more valuable than all the commitments you can make to the world and break. The commitment you keep to you builds your self-esteem, and that you can't replace it. Upon that foundation, we build everything else. And so that would be my advice to elevate that score. And we'll do. That's one of the things we'll be doing in the weeks to come. As we're doing coaching, these are the things we'll be addressing as we apply them to your practical life, the real decisions you're making. You know, what's funny is I think people try to make decisions about success, and they think it's in a critical moment, it's a critical opportunity, it's a critical decision in a business setting that they're missing, and they just want a second set of eyes on all these. No. It's this stuff. It's this stuff. It's these small blind spots that everybody's got. We all got them. It's just you're not dealing with them. We've outgrown them. But we've somehow figured out how to manage around our blind spots. We got to get back to fixing them. And if we fix the blind spots, all these opportunities become obvious. It becomes clear what I've got to do in that moment. And I have the self-esteem to do it. When I walk in the room, I know I'm worthy of the moment because I keep commitments to me. Right? Yeah. Okay. Very, very important. How about commitments to others? Where would you rank yourself there?
9.
Yeah, we're better there because we'll be judged harshly. Nobody wants to be viewed as a flake. But I go back to the commitments to yourself. You still are a flake. I mean, it's really not about her judgment of me or his judgment of me. It's about your judgment of you. Because upon that foundation, I won't even make a commitment to you. I actually can't fit it in. So I actually get to say, no, sir. I know what you'd like, and I totally appreciate where you're coming from. I just can't fit it in. See, that's an easy decision to make when you're a guy that keeps the commitments that you make to yourself. You can say no real quite easily, and now you become valuable. Now people have to talk you into stuff. Now you need to be sold stuff. Now you need to be persuasively brought into a deal, as opposed to, think about all the people you know who are wildly successful. Boy, there's people doing slide decks right now trying to figure out how to get to me. They're doing slide decks trying to figure out how to get to me. They've got the PowerPoints organized around, oh, no, he won't, no, take that one out. Oh, I like that one. Yeah, I know him. That's perfect. Yeah, put one together that does this. So if that's not you, it's all back to that original commitments to self. It all builds from there. It happens quick. It does happen quick. See, this is not like losing weight, where it may take 6 months to see the results you're looking for. This thing could turn around fast. Make less commitments, but keep them all. Make fewer. Don't do New Year's resolutions, man. I go to the gym every day. Every day I go to the gym. And in that gym in December, late December through January, they shouldn't even sell memberships because all those people are disappearing in February. They'll all not be there. And sure enough, we're mid-February now. The gym's empty. And I got my spots back. I don't have to sweat it. But I read, I want to say it was on Instagram, to this same point. There was some exclusive gym in Manhattan that, some very expensive situation to join there. They simply won't sell a membership December, January, February. You can't join our gym. We're interested in people that are going to use our gym. We're interested in people coming in here to work out, part of our community. We will sell you the membership in March. So if you got resolutions tied to fat loss or whatever, we're the wrong gym for you. And I love that idea. It made me want to join their gym. It made me want to research their gym. So anyway, keeping commitments to you is so, so important. All right, what gives you the most joy? The most joy, you just feel elated. I think I know what you're going to say because I know you, but I want to hear you. What you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking about that, the most joy is definitely seeing like the smile on my wife's face or my son's face, watching them achieve their goals, seeing them, fight through the battle of self-worth and achieve something, and seeing that they are something worth, existing, worth having. Like my son this season has had a challenging season to kind of come out on top, and it's really cool to watch where he is now and the mindset he has and the success that he's having. And that definitely brings me the most joy.
Awesome. Yeah, I had the privilege of raising 6 kids, and it is their experiences. Literally, I mean, nothing made me happy than their practices. The trivial moments to them meant everything to me. Because they didn't quite see it. You're living it, so you don't quite think about it in a retrospective way as a kid. But boy, parents, that's the joy of parenting, really, is you get these, because you know all the struggle that was associated with them, and you're able to talk them through some of it, and some of it's quite private. They just have to deal with it on their own. And in the end, that should provide you the most joy. I feel sometimes for folks who don't get the blessing of having a family, they don't get to see that, right? All right. Is balance essential for you? Balance. We hear a lot of talk about balance. I got to have balance. I got to know what it takes to get balance. I got to get more balance in my life.
Yeah, I think balance is different for everybody. And I would say that the balance in my life currently isn't where I'd like it to be. I definitely work way more than I would like to. I'd like my, home life, work life balance to be a little bit different, but it's the season of work right now for me to do what I need to do. So it's the balance that I have to be okay with. And going into this, I told my wife, you have to give me like a year or two of like, unfortunately not being around much.
Yeah.
And then let me build something where I can be around just as much, if not more than I was before. And so it is a balance. It's not the balance I currently want, but it's the balance that I have to have.
Great answer.
To go after my goals.
Great answer. It's a trick question. I do it in the assessment to find out if they're in pursuit of a fallacy. I need to know if you think balance is somehow at all associated with success. It is not. Balance and success are enemies. They're the antithesis of one another. You cannot, I know of no one who's achieved any measurable success who said, when I did it all balanced. I've never heard that spoken, ever. Okay, so when you say, I love the way you said, because I trapped you into the same question I ask everybody. Ultimately, it's a season. And by the way, I don't know when this season ends, okay? I just want to say.
Me either. I'm hoping it ends soon.
It may shift. It may shift where the balance is all home. And and you may be in that season, where we're back in there full time and we got a business kind of running itself. But that's not balanced either. So there will if you're seeking balance, you can just cross that off. That's not possible. And I know of no one who's achieved any measurable. I know a lot of people who haven't succeeded that are looking for some type of 50-50 work-life balance. It's a fallacy. So I like the way you said it. It's a season. But that season will shift. Your focus will shift, your intensity will shift, but it still never be balanced. So the balance is you got 24 hours a day, right? And you got 7 days a week. All of us have that. And the balance is how to best deploy those 24 hours in a day. How much of it's going to be sleep, which is really vital. How much of it's going to be tied up in meaningless activity. I don't want to get too deep into it, but online gaming and other vices that can totally rob you of everything that's meaningful, including relationships. So and I don't want to hit all the vices, but we know all the vices, the list of vices. The balance needs to be to eliminate all that garbage and then get down into the things that do matter to your family's success and do your success. And then everybody wins. When you're unbalanced in all the right areas, everybody wins. Yeah. But there will be no balance. So I love the way you said seasons, because that's really what it is. Okay. Do you exercise?
Kind of.
Oh, okay. Define that, please. Kind of.
I just started playing soccer again once a week.
Okay. Very good.
I've made the commitment to go start working out or doing some at-home stuff, but I keep breaking that commitment to myself.
Okay. You have home stuff to work out with.
Yeah.
Give equipment
or even push-ups. Like, I'm fat enough that like just walking is good, you know?
Yeah. Just walking in here was exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Just sitting down. No, but and like this conversation is reminding me that I need to keep that commitment, even if it's something small, doing like 20 push-ups a day.
Start very small.
Right.
And just keep it. The key is to keep it.
Yeah, and then I've kind of started skateboarding again, taking my son to the skate park, my little one, because he loves going there. He's 3.
Yeah.
And so then I skateboard there to get a little bit more exercise in.
Okay. And the soccer's really good for you.
Yeah, and we play indoor, so it's like small field, and it's just,
quick.
So I do a little bit, but not nearly as much as I should.
Okay. Sleep. How well do you sleep?
Lately, not great.
How many hours a night?
Lately, with building this business, that's what kind of changed everything. I mean, maybe 4 hours.
3 to 5 or 4?
I mean,
sometimes get 5?
Some nights no sleep.
Sometimes no sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bad.
No, trust me. And I'm too old to be able to do that still.
Yeah, that's bad.
It takes me a while. I recently made a commitment to myself that hopefully I won't break, of being more intentional and getting to bed. Actually, listening to your guys' episode about sleep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Was one that I was like, I need to be better, because I used to be good about sleep. But then with building this and still trying to generate income for my family with the production stuff, and then, like everything's still bottlenecked on me on a lot of things, it's like, okay, I have to work 18 hours to still not get everything done.
Yeah.
And then that's the part of the overthinker, right? Where I'm thinking, if I don't get this done tonight, what could happen?
I can't get back to it for a week.
Even though I could just sleep and do it tomorrow, and it's not the end of the world, for most things. So lately, actually, instead of the past 2 nights, I've been good about it, because I've told myself, okay, I'm going to go back to work at night. My work life kind of looks like this. I leave around 6 a.m., 5 a.m. if my son has hockey, work till like 6 or 7 p.m., go home for 2 or 3 hours, come back to work till about 2 or 3 a.m., wake up 6.
Wow.
So lately, the past 2 nights, I've been good about it, of going to bed 9 to 10 and then trying to wake up around 4 or 5 and going to work.
You know what Elon Musk did is he brought mattresses into the White House.
Yeah. I sleep on the couch. I'll take little naps.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I sleep on, if I have, a lot of times, like my wife will be like, well, I want you to come home. And I'm like, that's 40 minutes wasted.
Yeah.
I'll just sleep on the couch to get an extra 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
So lately, like the past year, it hasn't been great. And I'm working on that balance of, getting that back in.
That's a priority. The brain function to be successful requires sleep, some people need 6, some people need 8, but you got to find what you actually need, and you got to really be committed to that, because your brain needs it. Forget the body. The body really does well with sleep. It really does. It processes food. It restores everything necessary to kind of heal from all the damage you caused during the day. And if you're exercising at all, you got to have that restorative sleep. And then mentally, the REM sleep is the area where the file cabinets get opened and all the data gets put in the right file, and then the file cabinet gets shut. And so if you don't have the REM sleep, your file cabinets are all over the place, and the data's not organized. And then if you don't get the deep sleep, which I try to measure, because I sleep with an Apple Watch, I try to measure how much REM and deep I get, because both are really important. And if I see I don't get at least an hour of each, I know it's going to be a rough day, because my body and mind need both. Yeah. So I want you to really think about the sleep and what we can do to improve it. Okay. This is another trick question. Do you go on diets to deal with weight loss, or do you adjust your lifestyle to deal with weight loss?
Definitely in the past, it was probably trying to be a little bit more extreme with a diet, like I'm never going to eat this again.
Right.
Then 5 seconds later, I have a whole pack of Oreos and I give up.
Yeah, the body wants to eat what it wants to eat.
So,
and for you, it's Oreos.
Right now, I'm using the semaglutides to help lose weight.
Very good.
But I want to make lifestyle changes along with that, so that way when we get off of it, I'm going to the gym every day and making those good choices.
Yeah.
And then not necessarily be on a diet, but
clean up the nutrition.
Be within reason. Yeah, don't eat an entire gallon of ice cream when I sit down.
Yeah.
Have 1 or 2 scoops.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And exactly. You could have everything you want, just eat less of it.
Yeah, and the semaglutides help with that.
Yes.
And so I have to figure out how to maintain that if I get off of it.
Right. Well, they're saying Dr. Gross has made it clear he's on it, and he's 160 pounds, okay? Microdosing, the very small amount of semaglutide where it lasts longer, it has a lot of anti-aging benefits, and it maintains that hunger thinking, that hungry thinking we have, where we between 6 and bedtime, we all get the munchies. That microdosing of semaglutide specifically seems to curb that. So we're in a class of drugs now that I think make a big difference. It's not really a diet.
Yeah, and actually, when you guys had that episode, I was actually the one dude in the room, I believe. Yeah. And I remember him talking about that. And I've been doing it for a few months. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll never get off of it then.
You may not.
Know, maybe I won't.
May just use less of it.
Yeah. And maybe because I can't control myself when I'm off of it.
Sure. And it will add back quickly. The people who've come off of it add the weight back very quickly.
Because they don't make any changes.
And they're still hungry for their favorites, whatever those were.
Yeah, because I went off of it when I got my hernia surgery for 2.5 months. And it was like the cravings came back and I had no self-control.
Yeah.
So my plan this time is implement a few new things to change the lifestyle.
Yep.
And keep that consistent, right? And then just try to learn how to, I guess, I can't say no sugar, but if I do have sugar,
just less.
Small, or just like once or twice a week, like not every single night at 8 o'clock,
exactly.
10 o'clock, right?
Yeah. I love the when the sun is up, I can eat. When the sun is down, I cannot eat. That really works well. That's a good way to think about it, because our bodies were designed around that clock. And when the sun is up, it's cool to eat. When the sun is down, the body's trying to get to rest. It's trying to get to rest and digest. And if we're still loading it up, it can't quite recover through the night. Yeah. Okay, more questions here. If I were to sneak up on you and climb in the passenger seat of your vehicle, would you be embarrassed by what's going on in that vehicle? Or it wouldn't even be a thought about me jumping in the passenger seat and maybe drop me off at the airport?
Currently, not a problem.
Okay.
In the past, yeah.
Okay. So is that because you've changed some things about the way you treat your vehicle and the interior of your vehicle?
Yeah.
What have you changed?
And I'm still not great about it. There's definitely times where I've left the trash in there, but I think I bought a more expensive vehicle.
Okay.
And
you've got a Cybertruck.
Part of that, and part of that was for my mindset.
Good.
Like
I like that truck.
To remind myself that I am somebody, not like in those
I know what
terms,
you mean.
but like that I've achieved things, I deserve things, I can build things.
Yes.
I
feel good getting in and out of this.
To kind of view myself as the world views me.
Yes.
Right.
Better.
And so buying that car, I've definitely treated it better on the inside.
Good.
But there are still some moments where I'm like, I'll leave.
Yesterday's food in there.
Or just all the mail from that I went through and all the junk mail still sitting there. It might be there for a few days.
Sure.
But I'm better about it now.
All right. Second question on the same subject. I knock on your door, unexpected, surprise. I'm at your front door. I'd like to come in and have a conversation. Are you embarrassed, Are you leaving me out there for a minute while you guys get organized in there? Or am I coming right in?
You're coming right in.
Okay, good.
But that's because of my wife, not me.
Because she's running the house.
She cleans everything up.
Okay.
If I lived alone in that scenario,
You'd need to have me hold on a minute. Give me a second.
You just wouldn't go to my rooms.
Gotcha.
The spaces where people would see would probably be clean, but like my room would probably be a disaster.
Okay. All right. Because the reason that question's in my assessment is not because I care about what your car interior looks like or the house, but it's a reflection of what's going on in the mind. If our space that we operate in regularly, like this is our space, our office, our home, our car, if that is neat and orderly, then you can rest assured that what's going on in the mind is quite organized, and it's easier to coach. If it's disorganized, it's harder. I got to weave my way in there, and so do you. You have to make room too in your mind, because it's not straight highways. There's a lot of curves, and so that's the reason that's in the assessment. How many storage units do you have?
0.
Okay, good. Is that because you throw stuff out?
Yeah. We don't really. There's certain things I probably hoard, especially when it comes to like equipment.
Everybody's got some hoarding thing.
And yeah. I recently threw a bunch of stuff away, and then like a week later, it was like I needed this one cord, and it was in there.
And you tossed it.
Yeah, but yeah, we're pretty good at. There's not too many boxes in our garage either of just like stuff.
Is your garage to park a car? Or is your garage a storage unit?
It's mainly to park the car.
Okay, the car goes in there.
Yep, the Cybertruck goes in there.
Beautiful. That's one of our questions. Another one that tells me a lot about my client. Okay, do you save money?
Typically, yes.
Typically, it's not a regular habit, but
well, okay. Overall, yes, we for the longest time we weren't good at it, and then like around 30 was like. I was looking at the money that we brought in, and then I was like, how did we start the year with 10 grand in our bank account and end the year with 10 grand in our bank account?
Yeah.
And I think at the time,
we made a bunch of money.
Maybe 180,000 went through my bank account, and I was like, where did that go?
Right.
Then we did some personal finance classes, and
oh, good.
I didn't learn anything because it was stuff I already knew.
Yeah.
But then it was like, oh, we're not doing it.
Yeah, right. I knew it, but I wasn't doing it.
And we made some changes, and that's when the pandemic happened, and we actually, were able to save a lot of money, go buy a new house, not have to sell our old house, keep it for a rental, go buy another rental in Pittsburgh, and then buy another one shortly after that.
Good.
And we've been pretty good about saving. I just say because we don't make as much as we used to because of this weird in between of starting this business and not giving attention to the old one.
Yeah.
And how much money I've had to put into every room.
Yeah, right.
That's why I say we're not really saving.
Yeah. You're pouring it into the business.
Yeah. And so our bank account isn't growing like it used to grow.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting to the tipping point where we're going to be back in that direction.
That's the life of an entrepreneur. Anybody that's successful at the highest level will tell you in the early days of the business, they poured every dollar they made back into that business. They went crazy on the interior of that business, building it up, and then later sold it or somehow went public or monetized it, and it was worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So don't feel bad about that. I asked the question because I just want to know. Because my follow-up question to that is, for what purpose do you save?
We save for a few different reasons, mainly to invest.
Okay.
Right? We want to save to buy more rental properties or other opportunities of investment. So that by a certain age, we're able to then just enjoy life, hang out with the grandkids, right? Live.
Assets are spinning off income.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then also a portion of the save is so we can comfortably live a lifestyle we want and go travel and see the world the way that my wife wants to see it.
Sure.
And to be able to afford this stuff like hockey. Like hockey's
expensive.
Very expensive. And so, yeah, those are our biggest reasons. And the whole reason why we save is to invest. So that way then we can have certain opportunities, certain lifestyles, experiences.
Great. I love it. Okay. These are a little personal, but I'd like an answer. Is there a God?
I believe so.
Okay. How many kids?
We have 2.
2 kids. And no storage units.
No storage units.
Okay. Okay. That's the assessment. How do you feel?
I like it. I mean, it's definitely made me assess myself through the assessment.
Hopefully it didn't make you self-conscious.
No.
It made you, it was probative enough that you were thinking about your life.
Yeah, and it's reminding me of a lot of things I know.
Sure.
Right, like about making commitments to myself, even the small ones, and by breaking it, it's going to hurt me. But then hearing it from somebody who understands it, it just hits differently.
Yeah. That's really one of the powers of coaching is it's not your minister, so there's no judgment. It's not your wife who you want her to see you in the best light. It's somebody who really is not involved in your day-to-day life. They're just here to kind of whisper important messages to your mindset the way I've found it so that we can grow what's inside of you, that ambition, that drive, that potential. I mean, that's the power of the assessment because it tells me right where we are, where we're starting from. I have to just say this because we're kind of pretending to have a coaching relationship here for the audience to see the assessment. But I will tell you that I personally think just the initial assessment here with no coaching, you've got every ingredient necessary to be very successful. Very. Like sometimes when I do this assessment, I won't tell who, but sometimes when I do this assessment, I realize we may be a year on just getting some of this stuff organized here. Because if we don't get this stuff right, I don't really care what meetings you're in, what opportunities you have, you'll mess them up. You'll sabotage them. You'll destroy them. And you shouldn't be in meetings that have potential. If we don't have this right, they'll see right through you. So I can tell you, Trevon, my assessment of you directly is you got everything necessary to succeed. It's just a function of maybe rewatching this episode and making some personal notes. But you kind of, like you say, you already know these things. It's just a function of doing it and being reminded of it. Yeah. This is a quote I picked up a long, long time ago. We can make money or excuses, but not both. So we have to just decide. It's a decision. We're either going to be riddled with excuses, filled with justifiable. There's so many justifiable excuses that the military, I want to say it was the SEAL teams, the SEAL teams that would say this. This is very important. An excuse, no matter how justified, only weakens the character. Now think about that. Let's just say one of the employees that works here flies into work 30 minutes late. They just arrived 30 minutes late. Now you were counting on them, right? We've got an employee in the room, so you're looking at it. Okay, he was not late, right? For the record, he was not late. But let's just assume somebody was, right? They're 30 minutes late. And what they say to you is, this is on me. I owe you 30 minutes. You can count on that not happening again. 100% my fault. Now, how do you feel about that right now? Those words being used with you as the boss.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Feel okay about it?
Yeah, a lot better than what normally happens.
Okay. Now you find out the next day from another employee that guy who was 30 minutes late literally was in an accident. Now, how do you feel about the guy? This is your guy, right? Mm-hmm. Excuses, no matter how valid. No matter how valid. The accident was valid, but it's an excuse for him being late. No matter how valid, only weaken the character. So let's stop using them. If you got trauma, drama in your life, that's yours. You own it. You solve it. You can take care of it. Trevon's not going to do a damn thing about the accident you were in. Let him find out later from somebody else that he's got the best employee he could have. We're all going to have stuff that comes up that gets in our way, right? But no matter how valid, the Navy SEALs don't use excuses. I'm telling you, when they do special operations, you're about to find those boys in on the cartel here quickly, okay? Special Forces has got all the cartel boys lined up. They got them all the headquarters identified with those drones. You're about to find a non-excuse driven group of people seize cartels, and it's going to happen fast. We'll go hear about it after it occurs. Those guys, I had a chance to spend a lot of time with the SEALs of San Diego when we lived there for 12 years. Those are non-excuse driven people. And I would just challenge the audience. You can make money or excuses, but not both. So just eradicate that from your life. Just get that out of your life. Let people find out later the drama you were involved in that happened to be justifiable. Let them find out later from somebody else, not from you. You be the kind of person that just owns up to being late, owns up to the other stuff you've messed up, owns up to it, and then makes it up. This has been another episode of Inside Out. I'm so glad to have studio manager Trevon with us. Thanks for doing this. I want to let the audience know, if you need to reach me directly, maybe you've got questions about coaching, maybe you want to know about the assessment. Again, you can reach me at insideoutwithjamescatledge@gmail.com. That's my personal email address for this channel. I respond to all of them directly. And of course, hit the subscribe button and leave us your comments. Some of you are very nasty with your comments. I want to point that out. And I do read them all. And I assure you, you cannot faze me with your nasty comments. But you're not eligible for coaching. Let me just point that out right now. I don't believe you're coachable if you seek out websites to make nasty comments. That's my view. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'm James Catledge, your host for Inside Out. Thanks.